Economic advisor, economic Svengali as well. Art Laffer on all of that. Art, you have to be looking at this and cognizant of the fact that markets can sometimes pounce on news that's promising, but they're sometimes not all that patient either, right? I mean, Ronald Reagan, it took a while to get the big tax reform. It didn't take a while to get the original 81 tax cuts, but which do you see playing out here?
Well, you know, if you look at Ronald Reagan, too, if you look at the stock market, I mean, the stock market troughed in August of 1982.
Right.
So we had a collapse in that market up until 82 because of all the delays and all that stuff that occurred in the tax bill.
And we had a major recession and all of that, just and breaking that.
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible. And the reason for it, Neil, was very simple. We phased in the tax cuts because of silly accounting procedures. Now, I love Mike Rounds. He's a great guy. I've known him for a long time, and he's a super senator. But all of the pay-fors that he's talking about are just plain wrong. If you cut the corporate tax rate by itself, no pay-fors, no offsets, nothing, you'd have a much larger revenue growth over the next 10 years. Economic growth always gives you more revenues every time. With Kennedy, it did it with Clinton. It does it with all of these presidents.
You know, this always comes up, right, Art? I mean, people are always...
And
there's a battle within maybe for the soul of the Republican Party over these tax cuts. Pay for them, make sure right away they're paid for, even if they produce deficits in the beginning. A lot of others, the supply siders like yourself, say, no, don't get trapped in that. You're going to, by definition, have weak tax cuts. Where do you see this ending up?
Well, I see it ending up with, hopefully, that we will get the tax cuts just like Kennedy did, just like Reagan did, just like Harding and Coolidge did, and we'll create the greatest boom in all time. That's what we really need here, and that's what I think we're going to get. But if he promises the tax pay for us, you know, it will hold us back, and we'll never get it. And then we'll have a bad election in 2018, and that would be very bad for the economy.
I get a sense from a lot of your old friends in Washington and Senator Rounds and some of these others that they'll swallow a little bit on that deficit stuff. They'll also swallow taking on a little bit more to the debt if it means they have a victory or a win for the Gipper, in this case for President Trump, because they cannot afford not to have gotten something done on taxes. What do you think?
Yeah, let me just tell you, Mike Rounds is was governor of the state of South Dakota, which is one of those zero earned income states. He knows exactly what tax cuts can do to create economic growth. South Dakota, because of his governorship, is one of the most prospering places in the world. I mean, I was on the board of a company in South Dakota, Sioux Falls, and it's a great place to be. I mean, and what he did was wonderful. He did very differently what he's talking about here, which is the pay-fors. If we just get the corporate tax rate down to 15%, 20%, we would just have a super economy going forward, and then everyone would come and join forces with us. And then you can cut the spending and bring it down. But, you know, I think it's going to happen, Neil. I think everyone's primed for it. And by the way, it's the best thing in the world for growth, is the best thing in the world for defense policy, for North Korea, for Iran, for all of that stuff. We defeated the Soviet Union not by outspending them, but by outgrowing them. And it's really important. If we get that prosperity, North Korea, Iran, and all the rest will fall into line. It's a panacea in many, many ways.
Let me just be clear here. The North Koreans are held at bay if we get tax cuts?
If we get really rich and prosperous, what do you think we'd be doing if we were the size of Moldova? I mean, they wouldn't care at all about us. I mean, the reason they focus on us.
To me, Moldova. So
no, excuse me. You're right.
Okay,
you're right. You're right.
Okay. Don't
forgive me. I don't mean to maybe anti-Moldavan or what would Hillary say? Moldovaphobia.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, Art Laffer. Always good having you, my friend.
Neil, it's great being with you. Thank you.
In the meantime, you've probably heard the dust up over.